Hello everyone and welcome to Speak Up, your go-to video for learning English in a fun, simple, and effective way. My name is Ryan, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to becoming a confident English speaker. Whether you're just starting out or have been practicing for a while, this episode is designed to help you improve step by step. Today, we're diving into a fundamental topic for every English learner: building a strong vocabulary. When you think about vocabulary, it's clear that it forms the very foundation of language. Without words, it's almost impossible to express yourself, understand others, or even think clearly in a new language. A strong vocabulary allows you to communicate effectively, read and write better, and enjoy things like movies and books in English. But let's face it, learning vocabulary can sometimes feel overwhelming. With thousands of words in the English language, many learners struggle to figure out where to begin or how to retain what they've learned. That's exactly why we're here. In this episode, I'll walk you through practical tips, fun methods, and common pitfalls to avoid when building your vocabulary. We'll explore strategies like using flashcards, keeping a vocabulary journal, and learning through reading, listening, and even playing games. But learning new words is only half the battle. Knowing how to use them naturally in conversations is just as important. After all, memorizing words without context won't help much in real-life situations. I'll also share how you can integrate these new words into your everyday speech to make them stick. For those of you who enjoy a challenge, stick around. Toward the end, I'll introduce a fun exercise where you'll get a list of words and practice creating sentences throughout the week. Remember, learning English doesn't have to feel like a chore. The key is to find joy in the process and discover methods that work best for you. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear, actionable plan to expand your vocabulary effectively. Whether your goal is to speak with confidence, write better, or simply understand English more clearly, this episode has something for you. Now let's get started. First things first, why is vocabulary so important? Let's break it down. Vocabulary is the backbone of any language. Without it, forming sentences, expressing thoughts, or understanding what others are saying becomes nearly impossible. Every interaction, whether spoken or written, begins and ends with words. The more words you know, the easier it is to communicate your ideas, emotions, and thoughts effectively. Think of vocabulary like building blocks. Imagine trying to construct a house without bricks. You might have the blueprint and the skills, but without bricks, you can't create a solid, lasting structure. Similarly, grammar and pronunciation are important, but they can't come together meaningfully without a solid foundation of words. And it's not just about speaking. Vocabulary plays a critical role in every aspect of language use. Take listening, for example. Your ability to understand someone depends largely on how many of the words they use you're already familiar with. If their sentences are filled with unfamiliar words, it's like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. On the flip side, a broad vocabulary makes it easy to grasp what's being said and respond appropriately. The same goes for reading. Whether you're enjoying a novel, skimming a news article, or watching movie subtitles, your understanding comes from the words you know. If you encounter too many unfamiliar terms, it can disrupt your flow and make the experience frustrating. But with a strong vocabulary, reading becomes smoother and more enjoyable. Writing is another area where vocabulary shines. When you write an email, report, or even a message to a friend, your ability to clearly express your ideas hinges on the words you know. A limited vocabulary can make it tough to find the right words, but a wider range allows you to write confidently and precisely. And of course, this extends to speaking. In conversation, your vocabulary is your toolkit. A well-stocked toolkit allows you to pick just the right word for every situation. For example, instead of always saying, "I'm happy," you could say, "I'm excited," "I'm thrilled," or "I'm overjoyed," depending on the context. These nuances make your communication more engaging and accurate. Vocabulary also adds depth and richness to your expression. It's the difference between speaking in a basic, functional way and being able to convey detail and emotion. For instance, instead of saying something is good, you might describe it as fantastic, remarkable, or extraordinary, each adding a unique flavor to your message. If you're describing a beautiful sunset, you could simply say, "It's nice." Or you could bring it to life by saying, "The sky is painted with shades of orange and pink, and the clouds look like soft golden cotton." The second description is so much more vivid and engaging. That's the power of vocabulary. It transforms how you express yourself and connect with others, turning simple observations into memorable experiences. Vocabulary isn't just about knowing words. It's about unlocking your ability to share your thoughts, connect meaningfully with others, and express yourself with depth. And the best part? It's a skill you can keep building no matter where you are in your English learning journey. It's not a one-time task. It's an ongoing process that enhances every other part of language learning, making it more enjoyable and fulfilling. Now let's talk about real-life situations where vocabulary becomes essential. Imagine you're traveling to a country where English is widely spoken. Whether you need to ask for directions, order food, or explain something to a taxi driver, having the right words can make these moments much easier and stress-free. A strong vocabulary helps you navigate these situations with confidence, turning potential challenges into smooth and enjoyable experiences. And it's not just about travel, it's equally important in the workplace. In today's globalized world, many jobs require some level of English proficiency. Whether you're writing emails, participating in meetings, or giving presentations, a good vocabulary can set you apart. It's not just about knowing technical terms related to your industry. It's about being able to express your ideas clearly and persuasively in any context. But vocabulary isn't only about professional success. It's also essential in your personal life. Whether you're chatting with friends, enjoying an English movie, or reading a book, having a rich vocabulary deepens your experience. It lets you connect with others on a more meaningful level and fully immerse yourself in the world around you. The beauty of vocabulary building is that it's something you can start right now, no matter your current skill level. And the benefits compound over time. It truly is the foundation of language learning, helping you grow one word at a time. Now, let's move to the practical side. How can you actively build and expand your vocabulary in an effective way? It's one thing to know why vocabulary is important, but it's another to take actionable steps to grow it every day. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. With a little consistency and the right methods, it can even become a fun and rewarding part of your learning journey. Start with something simple. Learn a handful of new words every day. Even just 5 to 10 words, depending on your schedule, can make a huge difference. Think about it. If you learn 5 words a day, that adds up to over 1,800 words in a year. The key is consistency. It's far better to focus on a manageable number of words daily and truly remember them than to try learning too many at once and forgetting most of them. One effective way to stick to this habit is by using tools like flashcards or vocabulary apps. Flashcards are excellent because they encourage active recall, which helps your brain retain information more effectively. You can create your own flashcards with index cards or use digital tools like Anki or Quizlet. These apps are super convenient and let you study on the go. For a more interactive approach, apps like Duolingo or Memrise can make learning structured and engaging. Another great strategy is to keep a vocabulary journal. Use it to write down new words you encounter, along with their meanings and example sentences. Adding personal touches, like drawing small pictures to represent words, can make the process even more memorable. Over time, this journal becomes a valuable resource you can revisit to reinforce what you've learned. Reading is another fantastic way to expand your vocabulary. Whether it's a book, article, or even short stories, reading immerses you in context-rich language. It's not just about understanding individual words, but also grasping how they're used in real sentences. Always keep a pencil or highlighter handy. When you come across unfamiliar words, underline them, look them up, and add them to your vocabulary journal. Then, try making your own sentences with those words to solidify your understanding. If reading isn't your favorite, listening and watching are equally effective tools. English movies, TV shows, and podcasts expose you to words in natural contexts. For beginners, watching with subtitles can help you connect spoken words with their written forms, making it easier to remember them. And if you enjoy music, paying attention to lyrics is another engaging way to pick up new vocabulary. No matter what method you choose, the goal is to integrate vocabulary building into your daily routine. Consistency and enjoyment are the keys to success. When you're consistent, every small effort adds up. And when you enjoy the process, it becomes something you look forward to, not a chore. In the next section, I'll share more advanced strategies to enhance your learning and make vocabulary building a seamless part of your life. Let's keep moving forward together. Songs are an incredible way to learn new words, especially because they often use casual, conversational language that's perfect for daily interactions. When you hear a word or phrase that catches your attention, write it down and look it up later. It's a simple habit, but it can make a huge difference in your learning. Of course, learning new words is just the first step. To truly make them part of your vocabulary, you have to use them regularly. This is where speaking practice comes in. Challenge yourself to incorporate at least one or two of the words you've learned into your conversations each day. For example, if you've just learned the word improve, you might say, "I'm trying to improve my English skills," the next time you're chatting with a friend or tutor. Another effective technique is creating sentences with your new words, even if you're speaking to yourself. Let's say you've learned the word explore. You could practice by saying, "I want to explore new places this weekend." The more you use a word, the more natural it will feel, and over time, it will become a seamless part of your vocabulary. Let's not forget that learning vocabulary can also be fun. Word games like Scrabble or crosswords are fantastic tools for building your vocabulary while keeping your brain engaged. These games push you to think about word meanings, spellings, and how they fit together. And if digital tools are more your style, there are plenty of apps and games designed to make vocabulary building enjoyable. Games like Wordle, Wordscapes, or trivia apps with language challenges are excellent for quick, engaging practice during your downtime. The best part is that as you mix up your learning methods with these games, apps, and daily challenges, building vocabulary starts to feel less like a chore and more like a rewarding activity. And as you expand your vocabulary, you'll notice how much easier and more enjoyable it becomes to communicate in English, whether you're speaking, listening, reading, or writing. Now that we've covered some strategies for growing your vocabulary, let's shift gears and talk about common mistakes that can slow down your progress. These are pitfalls that many learners encounter, often without realizing it. Avoiding these mistakes will save you time, frustration, and energy as you continue to improve your English. One of the biggest mistakes is trying to memorize words in isolation, without any context. It's tempting to think that if you memorize a long list of words and their definitions, you'll magically know how to use them. But language doesn't work that way. Memorizing words without context might help you recognize them on a test, but it won't help you use them naturally in conversations. Think of it this way. Words don't exist on their own. They're always part of a bigger picture. Take the word run, for example. On its own, you might think it means to move quickly on foot, but in context, it could mean something completely different. If someone says, "I run a business," they're talking about managing a company, not physical movement. Or if you hear, "Let's run an idea by the boss," it means to propose or discuss something. Without context, you might misunderstand or misuse words like these. That's why it's crucial to learn vocabulary in context. When studying a new word, always look for examples of how it's used in sentences or real-life situations. For instance, Instead of just memorizing that delicious means tasty, observe how it's used. The chocolate cake was delicious, or this restaurant serves delicious meals. Better yet, try to create your own sentences using the word. By imagining yourself enjoying a delicious meal while saying the sentence, you're engaging your memory on a deeper level and making the word more memorable. Paying attention to phrases and collocations, words that naturally go together, is another great way to deepen your understanding. With run, for example, you might encounter phrases like run a race, run errands, or run into trouble. Learning these combinations helps you understand how the word works in different contexts, making your communication more precise and natural. Another common mistake is neglecting to review the words you've already learned. Many learners are eager to move on to new vocabulary without revisiting the old, but this approach makes it easy to forget most of what you've learned. This isn't a sign of poor learning. It's simply how memory works. Think of your brain as a garden. Learning a new word is like planting a seed, but if you don't water that seed by reviewing and using the word, it won't grow into a strong, lasting memory. To keep your vocabulary garden thriving, you need to revisit words regularly. A great way to do this is by using spaced repetition. After learning a new word, review it the next day, then a few days later, and again after a week or two. Apps like Anki or Quizlet are designed to help with this, spacing out reviews at just the right intervals for maximum retention. You can also reinforce your vocabulary through creative engagement. Write sentences with the words you've learned, use them in conversations, or create a short story featuring those words. The more you interact with your new vocabulary, the more it will stick. And don't worry if you forget a word occasionally. That's normal. The key is to keep practicing until the word becomes a natural part of your active vocabulary. Finally, let's focus on making vocabulary learning enjoyable and rewarding. When you treat it as an exciting challenge rather than a task, you'll find yourself looking forward to the process. And as you continue to grow your vocabulary, you'll unlock new levels of confidence and fluency in your English journey. Let's talk about a mistake that can make learning English feel overwhelming, trying to learn too many words at once. It's easy to fall into this trap, especially when you're feeling motivated and eager to make rapid progress. But cramming a long list of words into your brain in one sitting isn't just ineffective. It can actually hinder your learning in the long run. When you try to take on too much at once, your brain gets overwhelmed, and it becomes harder to retain anything. Think of it like trying to carry 50 grocery bags at the same time. You're more likely to drop them all than to get them to your car safely. Vocabulary building is much more effective when you focus on a smaller number of words and give yourself the time to understand and practice them. A good rule of thumb is to aim for 5 to 10 new words a day, depending on how much time you can dedicate. That might not sound like a lot, but think about it. Learning just 5 words a day adds up to 35 words a week, or more than 1,800 words a year. Because you're focusing on fewer words at a time, you'll learn them more deeply and remember them more easily. Another tip is to prioritize quality over quantity. Instead of randomly adding words to your list, choose ones that are relevant to your goals or interests. For example, if you're learning English for travel, focus on words related to airports, hotels, and sightseeing. If it's for work, concentrate on business vocabulary. By selecting words that are immediately useful, you'll stay motivated and see faster results. And most importantly, be patient with yourself. Building a strong vocabulary is a marathon, not a sprint. It's better to take your time and truly master a few words than to rush through a list and forget most of them. Every word you learn is a step forward, and each step brings you closer to fluency. Now, let's recap some of the key mistakes to avoid when building your vocabulary. First, don't memorize words without context. It makes them harder to understand and use naturally. Second, don't neglect to revisit words you've already learned. Without regular review, they'll fade from memory. And finally, Avoid overwhelming yourself by trying to learn too many words at once. By steering clear of these pitfalls, your learning process will be smoother, more effective, and much more enjoyable. Here's some exciting news. It's time for our vocabulary challenge, a fun and interactive way to put what you've learned into practice. Whether you're at home, on a walk, or taking a break at work, this challenge is designed to make vocabulary learning engaging and practical. Here's how it works. Each week, I'll introduce 5 new words. I'll explain their meanings, give you examples, and even share a few fun facts. Your task? Get creative and use these words in your own sentences by the end of the week. This isn't a test. It's a chance to practice and experiment with new words in a way that feels natural to you. Write your sentences in a journal, share them with a friend, or even post them on social media. If you're feeling brave, tag us so we can celebrate your progress with you. The goal is to take the first step and actively use the words you're learning. Let's dive into this week's challenge. The first word is adapt. It's a verb that means to change or adjust to fit a new situation. For example, when you move to a new city, you need to adapt to the local culture and lifestyle. Another example could be, the company adapted its services to meet the needs of online customers during the pandemic. Think about a time when you had to adapt to something new and use the word in a sentence. The second word is curious. It's an adjective that means eager to learn or know more about something. For instance, children are naturally curious about the world around them. Or, I'm curious about how technology can help with learning English. Use this word to describe something you're interested in or excited to explore. The third word is expand. This verb means to make something larger or increase its scope. For example, learning new vocabulary is a great way to expand your knowledge of English. You could also say, the company plans to expand into new markets next year. Use this word to describe something you want to grow or develop in your life. The fourth word is achieve. It's a verb that means to successfully accomplish a goal through effort. For example, she worked hard to achieve her dream of becoming a doctor. Or, to achieve fluency in English, regular practice is essential. Think of a goal you're working toward and use the word achieve to describe it. Finally, the word grateful. This adjective means feeling thankful for something or someone. For instance, I'm grateful for my friends and family who support me. Or, we're grateful to our listeners for joining us each week. Use this word to express your gratitude for something in your life. Now, it's your turn. Write sentences using adapt, curious, expand, achieve, and grateful. Share them with someone or keep them for yourself to review. The key is to practice and have fun with it. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with a reminder. Learning a new language takes time and persistence. Celebrate every small victory, each word you learn, each sentence you build, and every conversation you have in English. These small steps add up to big progress over time. Stay patient, stay consistent, and most importantly, enjoy the journey. Language learning is about more than just vocabulary. It's about building connections, expressing yourself, and opening doors to new opportunities. Keep up the amazing work, and I'll see you in the next episode of Speak Up. Until then, keep practicing, keep growing, and remember, every word you learn brings you one step closer to fluency.